In this video, I'm going to show you how I went from looking like this to looking like this, consuming tacos, margaritas, and wings at least twice per week, and how you can too. So if you follow me on Instagram, which I highly recommend you do, you probably see in my stories that I'm constantly eating things like these foods I mentioned. So what I actually did recently when I decided to start my cut was I didn't tell anyone I was doing it, and I kind of wanted it to just look like I was going through a normal life and nothing had changed, so I could say afterwards, hey, look, things didn't change that much, and I was still able to get results, including these foods that I love. And the reason for this is because despite seeing me eat this way, a lot of people still feel like you can't get results if you go out to eat, if you consume alcohol, if you have any fun foods at all, and it just couldn't be further from the truth. And first I want to stress what I do to be more flexible with things is instead of doing a more strict macro approach where you're really paying attention to carbs, fat, and protein, I just worry about total calories and protein, and I interchange my carbs and fats however I want. This allows for so much more flexibility in your diet, and research has really shown whether you prefer more carbs or fat is pretty much irrelevant if calories and protein are equated. And especially when it comes to something like wings, if you were to look at the around 50 grams of fat you're going to get for 10 wings, for a lot of people that would be their entire day's worth of fat, but the 60 grams of protein for 700 and some calories you get, that's actually not too bad, and doing this approach allows you to do that pretty easily. But one of the big hangups a lot of people have when going out to eat is knowing how to accurately track it. And to show you kind of what I do with these different foods, what I've been using for wings for years now was just the macros that I got from Buffalo Wild Wings, which I don't even know if it's still the same. It could be way different. It doesn't matter. Last year I did a reel showing that I ate wings over 40 times in the year. So clearly it's at least good enough. And that's one of the keys is you have to be okay with ballparking things and not getting caught up in, well, I don't know the exact nutrition, so what's the point? I might as well go nuts and just do whatever I want and I'll just get back on track later. No, get away from that approach. If there's nutrition available for the restaurant you're going to, go ahead and use it. That's fine. Understand it's never going to be super accurate. It's not like the chefs are back there like measuring out all the food and all the oil and stuff they use, but it's at least a good enough estimate. If there's nothing available for where you're going, use something similar from a restaurant that does have it, and even if you have no clue, be okay with a ballpark. This is much better than saying screw it and going crazy and setting yourself back. So with the wings, I'll show you a screenshot of what I've always been using if you want to use it yourself. With margaritas, it kind of depends on the size. If it's a smaller one, I do around 200 calories. If it's a larger one, around 300. The place we go to regularly, I usually use as 250 calories. And then for the tacos, depending on what type I get, if it's a shrimp taco, which is going to be less calories, I'll do around 150. If it's chicken, I go 175. If it's beef, I do 200. Are these things super accurate? Probably not, but it's good enough. It's going to keep you close. Even if you're off by a couple hundred calories, if you factor in the averages for the entire week, which I'll talk about in a minute, it's going to be irrelevant. So don't get caught up in perfection. Another thing I do is plan those days in advance. If I know where we're going to go, I figure out what I want to eat ahead of time. I plug it into my tracker right away before I've ate anything else. And then I start plugging in my food for my other meals until my numbers start to line up. Track your food ahead of time before you eat it, because then you know if you eat it and then you've gone way over and now you come back and track it later, there's nothing you can do about it. So plan ahead. One of the big adjustments to make during a cutting phase is I will make adjustments like instead of 2 to 3 margaritas, I'm gonna have 1 or maybe 2. Instead of 4 beef tacos, I'm gonna have 3 shrimp tacos. And just these little adjustments alone can easily make your 500 plus calorie deficit just by making those alterations. Another thing I do to help, and this is whether I'm in a maintenance phase, a building phase, a cutting phase, doesn't matter, I do high and low day calories. So it's really the average for the week that really matters, so you can eat less on some days and more on other days. So I usually have my high days be around 500 calories more than my low days, and I do 5 low days and 2 high days. Besides just that, I'll sometimes bank calories. If I'm not super hungry some days, I might eat a little bit less, bank those calories up for the weekend. So if I have a few different days where I ate about 100 calories less, now I've got maybe 300 or so calories to add to my weekends to allow some more flexibility. But a big thing to keep in mind with all this, a lot of people will say, well, it's just not healthy. Like even if you can see results, it's not good for you. You should always eat clean and all that. And you know what? It requires context of your overall diet. Look at it this way. If I'm going out to eat 2 or 3 times per week and having these fun things, most of the rest of my diet is pretty spot on, especially in a cutting phase. Like I'm on it and I'm eating mostly nutrient dense whole foods, foods that will fill me up. So I'm eating super clean most of the week and I'm on it. So if 2 to 3 meals out of 20 some meals are not great, super healthy meals, it's like what? 10% of your meals, if even, it's not a big deal. We gotta stop looking at foods as individual foods and meals as individual meals and look at your diet as a whole. But what does matter is sustainability of your diet, creating a healthy relationship with food. Because if you just ban everything you love and just get super strict and act like you're gonna do that for the rest of your life, maybe there's some people out there like that, but for the most part, most people fail at keeping the weight off even if they lose it because they diet in unsustainable methods. Which, if this is something you've always struggled with, if you feel like you do have an unhealthy relationship with food, then I want you to check out this top video next, and I'll cover some strategies you can take to start creating a healthy relationship with food. Otherwise, I think you'll like this bottom video instead, and I'll see you in one of those other videos.